He said, you literally almost screwed up an entire like multi-month sting operation for stolen vehicles. So I'm a bit of a romantic. I fall in love easily. And this is a story about how falling in love created a crazy chain of events. So I had met this girl and we'd gotten engaged fairly quickly, and she was a lovely girl. So despite this girl being a lovely girl, I had decided to break off this engagement due to her legal entanglements. And by legal entanglements, I mean that, as I've stated on the channel before, I don't do drugs. I don't even smoke. People always say that's not true due to my piercings and hair, but it's true that I don't. I'm kind of a straight edge like that. But this girl, as our relationship developed, I discovered she did indeed have some issues with this that led her on to the wrong side of the law. And in being in a relationship with somebody like that, you end up in some bizarre situations with some very dangerous people and the potential for a lot of legal entanglement. So it was for that reason that I had ended this engagement and went about my life in a much less dangerous way. But it seems like somehow that just sort of followed along that ring. Like I, somehow picked up some of her bad mojo and it came with the ring, because sure enough, years later, just even the ring that she was going to get ended up bringing me a bunch of legal entanglements too. Her life just had a little more excitement in it than I was really wanted to have in my life. Some just dangerous situations and a little too crazy. So I ended the engagement and we went our separate ways. When you don't get married, you end up with the ring. And so here I found myself with this engagement ring that I was not going to use, but thought maybe I should divest myself of. So I go to a couple of jewelry stores and some pawn shops. And of course, they don't give you really much anything for it. So I thought I might have better luck putting it online. So I put it online and it sits there for a while. But one day, I got a message from a guy and it said, hey, I don't have much money, but would you consider trading that ring for a Harley Davidson Fat Boy? Now, I've always been a fan of the big Harley touring bikes, but I've certainly rode a lot of the Softail models, Fat Boy being one of those. I always kind of wanted one. It's a smaller, little sportier bike, good for running around town instead of the big cruiser I've got. And I said, man, that sounds great. Absolutely, yes. So he sends me pictures of the bike, and the bike just looks great. It's the classic, just the classic look with the solid wheels, hadn't been modified a whole lot. It's a good looking bike. I said, man, absolutely. I'm so excited about this. And he said, yeah, my girlfriend and I need to get married, and this ring would be just what she wanted. And, that way no money changes hands. I said, absolutely. I live in Atlanta. He was in Southern Tennessee. He's only a couple hours away. So let's do this, certainly. So I said, hey, can you send me some more pictures of the bike? So he sends me, a few more detailed shots, good tires, the odometer, things like that. And I said, well, can you send me a picture of the VIN, on a motorcycle it's stamped up there in the steering head. So he sends me a picture of the VIN for the bike, and immediately, red flag goes up, because, I know Harleys well enough. All Harley Davidsons, the VIN starts with 1HD. But this one was like JZ something or another, it was not a Harley VIN. So I messaged the guy back. I was like, hey, was that possibly another motorcycle? Did you send me the right picture? And he said, oh yeah, that's the VIN on it. I said, well, that's not a Harley Davidson VIN. That means that chassis is not a Harley chassis. I got some concerns about titling this bike, so maybe this ain't gonna work out. And he's like, no. It's cool. My dad and I rebuild these things. We found a wrecked one and we got our aftermarket chassis. We took parts from another bike, put it together, and it's, it's a solid bike. I said, well, okay. And that's not that uncommon. There's a lot of companies that make aftermarket chassis, choppers, custom chassis, that kind of stuff for bikes. So you see that fairly commonly. And I said, well, look, if it's titled and insured, then if I have a title for it, then, I can get a new title transferred over. It shouldn't be a problem. He goes, yeah, I don't know if I have a title for it or not. I did some trading for it, etc. But I'm sure you won't have any trouble getting it titled. And I was like, this isn't feeling good. He goes, well, just come look at the bike and we'll meet up and just tell me what you think. And I was like, all right, well, I'll be willing to risk a little bit of title, shenanigans if I have to. I'll do a few rounds with the DMV. It can't be that hard. If it's got a tag and a plate on, he sent me a picture of a license plate and a tag on it. If it's titled in Tennessee, got a tag in Tennessee, I'm sure I can get one in Georgia. I go ahead and just kind of get the ball rolling. I get on my insurance. I want to add the bike to my insurance, see what it's going to cost. And call up my insurance agent and I read him the serial number for the bike. And he's like, I don't even have that in my database. I said, yeah, it's a custom, but you know, there's the bike at least this year. He said, well, I can tell you for this year a bike, it's going to be X amount, but I really need a solid VIN to insure it. I'm like, okay. So I call the guy back and I'm like, hey man, can you send me a copy of like your tag receipt just to see what serial number they have on the title for the bike or what's on your tag registration? I can maybe get some headway if I see what number they use, because this number's not coming up anywhere. He said, oh yeah, let me see what I can get, but you still want to meet me? We're going to meet like Sunday afternoon. You still want to meet me Sunday? Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Okay. So on a whim, I have one of my very good friends is an FBI agent. And I was talking to him, we met for lunch or something like that. And I told him about the bike and I said, you know, can I just send you this serial number and can you just run it through whatever computer thing y'all have just to see if this thing is legit? I'm not going to like show up and give this guy a ring for some stolen motorcycle. He said, yeah, I'll take a look. So I sent him the number. He calls me back in like 10 minutes. He's like, walk away. I was like, what's up? He's like, walk away. Never call that guy again. Don't call me for like months. Call my wife if you need to, but you can't call me. I was like, dude, what's going on? He's like, I can't talk about it. So a couple days later, I meet him for lunch and I'm like, what's going on? He's like, I can't tell you. This is just, I can't talk about this at all. He's like, just do not call the guy. You can't call me for a while. Like, we can't talk. I'm like, okay. So months go by and I talked to him about it again. I'm like, dude, what was up? He said, okay, again, I can't tell you the details, but that guy, that bike was all part of some investigation that I was participating in. And because you're talking to him and then I'm talking to you, that is like a conflict of interest. And we could have compromised the entire investigation because I have indirect contact with the person being investigated through you. So like you can't call him again and then talk to me on the phone, because then that his lawyer could use it to say that I had information. Like he said, you literally almost screwed up an entire like multi-month sting operation for stolen vehicles because of this phone call. And I was thinking like, man, you know, I got away from that girl because of some of her legal entanglements. And then even just the ring I was going to give to her still ended up with some legal entanglements. And it made me rethink falling in love so easily. So the moral of the story, I believe, is don't fall in love with dangerous women and don't ever try to trade an engagement ring for a stolen Harley Davidson.
Premier Financial Services makes it easier and more affordable than you could possibly imagine to own your dream car. Their Simple Lease is one of the most powerful tools in the world of exotic car financing. You get all the benefits like the tax savings and the low payments of a lease with all the additional benefits that you normally find in a traditional finance arrangement. You can build up equity, you can pay it off early, you can trade in and out of cars because you get a very clear and easy to understand amortization table to understand what your payoff will be any month throughout your term. And all the while, the amazing team from Premier Financial Services will be right there to help you along the way. They've been supporters of the VINwiki channel now for 5 years in a row, so we can't thank them enough for that, but mostly we're thankful for the fact that they can help you make it easier than ever to own your dream car. Check them out now.